I've already sent someone a message. There's one that I recognize because even in the other appointments. The major issues are the statements and the omissions. Because this one they can't put it on. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think it is the 10 past that we were talking about earlier. That will start at 10 past 11. Welcome all to this media briefing that looks at the deliberations, decisions of Cabinet. Hence, we call it a post-Cabinet briefing. My name is William Baloy. I invite all in the room to join us through making sure that, one, your cell phones, your gadgets are on silent, and also to take this opportunity to welcome those who are joining us online. As we were testing earlier, I think the concerns that you raised, we have resolved them. You will give an indication if our system is still a little bit slow, but I hope that things are now moving with the pace of the briefing. Joining us for sign language interpretation is Refilwe Mahandisa. She will be the one who will be doing the sign language interpretation. Joining the Minister in the Presidency is the Acting Director General for GCIS, Mr. Terry Van Dyer, is joining the Minister at the front. Let me take this opportunity to then invite a Minister in the Presidency to take us through the statement. And thereafter, we will then invite the questions, firstly from those that are present at GCIS, but also those who are following us online. You will then post your questions on the media groups that you are joining from. Thank you very much. Minister.
Good morning. This is the post-cabinet briefing for the cabinet meeting that took place on Friday, the 5th of December, 2025. And this was the last cabinet meeting for the year, unless a special cabinet meeting is convened by the President. On issues from the environment, on the economy, we start with the ESCOM turnaround that is gaining momentum. Cabinet welcomed continuing improvement in ESCOM's financial and operational performance for the first 6 months ending September 2025. ESCOM recorded a profit of 24.3 billion after tax, which is 37% higher than the same period in 2024. In the same period, Eskom delivered consistent energy supply with only 4 days of load shedding. Electricity supply reliability stood at 96% in 2024-25 financial year, improving to 98% year to date. Eskom's solid performance demonstrates the efficacies of Eskom's recovery plan initiated under Operation Vulindlela Structural Reforms Program, the level of competence of Eskom's management team and its board, and the focused leadership of the Minister of Electricity and Energy under the guidance of the President. South Africa's economy remains on positive momentum with GDP and employment growth. Cabinet welcomed the positive momentum in the economy as indicated by the third quarter GDP figures that were released by Statistics South Africa. The GDP grew by 0.5% in the period July to September 2025, marking the fourth consecutive quarter of expansion, driven by strong performances in mining, agriculture, and services, and contributions from finance, government services, and manufacturing. The GDP growth in the third quarter of 2025 was accompanied by an increase in employment, which increased by 248,000 jobs, and a decrease in unemployed people by 360,000 people, as announced in the Quarterly Labour Force Survey, Quarter 3. In addition, the Youth Employment Service, or the YES initiative, which provides young people with pathways into the economy, has now reached 200,000 jobs milestone. Today, YES has placed over 202,558 young South Africans in 12-month quality work experiences, and it is supported by more than 1,900 corporate partners. Furthermore, IMF has just lifted South Africa's growth forecast to 1.3% in 2025 and 1.4% in 2026, up from earlier projections of 1.1% and 1.2% respectively. On international relations, South Africa leverages G20 presidency to direct world leaders' focus on Africa and the Global South's development. Cabinet joined President Cyril Ramaphosa in extending its appreciation to all South Africans for their role in ensuring our successful G20 presidency, which culminated in the recently hosted G20 Leaders Summit. During our G20 presidency, South Africa firmly placed Africa's development agenda in the purview of G20 leaders and mobilized consensus on meaningful actions to address the challenges constraining South Africa, Africa, and the Global South's development. For more information on this, visit South Africa's G20 website, which is www.g20.org.za. Cabinet noted the recent position of the United States regarding South Africa's participation in the upcoming G20 Sherpa meeting and the expressed intentions to exclude South Africa, a G20 founding member, from participating in the 2026 G20 meetings. While this development is regrettable, as a founding member, South Africa's commitment to the G20 principles and collaborative framework remain unwavering. The 2025 G20 summit demonstrated the power of multilateralism and cooperation, and Cabinet remains confident that multilateralism and cooperation are the path to shared prosperity for all people of the world. IPSA's leaders continue to champion the Global South development agenda. Cabinet welcomed the successful hosting of the India-Brazil-South Africa IPSA leaders meeting on the margins of the G20 Leaders Summit. At IPSA, South Africa called for a reinvigoration of South-South cooperation to drive inclusive growth, advance sustainable development, and accelerate the reform of global governance institutions. IPSA nations are well positioned to champion the priorities of the Global South, including scaling up climate finance, enhancing food and health security, supporting foundational learning, and mobilizing investment for disaster risk reduction. The fourth Binational Commission meeting between South Africa and Mozambique, which focused on accelerating implementation of the BNC decision. President Cyril Ramaphosa led South Africa's delegation to the fourth South Africa-Mozambique Binational Commission meeting in Maputo, Mozambique. The fourth BNC reached agreement through 99 decisions with implementation timeframes in areas ranging from economic cooperation and development, diplomatic cooperation, safety and security, and social development. Presidents Ramaphosa and Chapo directed the ministers of both countries to ensure tangible progress with implementation of the fourth BNC decisions. Progress in the implementation of the decisions will be reported during the fifth BNC meeting in South Africa in 2026. The two presidents also officiated the official launch of the Sasol hydrocarbons processing integrated infrastructure in Hansoro town in Inyambane province on the 3rd of December 2025. On safety and security, we are winning the battle against crime as statistics indicate a decline across crime categories. Cabinet welcomed a reported decline in crime across most crime categories according to the South African Police Service's released crime statistics for the first and second quarters of 2025 financial year. The crime statistics covering the period from April to June and July to September 2025 show significant reductions in serious and violent crime, with murder rates dropping substantially. Murders decreased by 6.5% in the first quarter and by 11.5% in the second quarter. Cabinet commended law enforcement agencies for the continuing hard work against crime and calls upon society to join the fight against crime. Cabinet decisions. Implementation plan to drive growth and inclusion. Cabinet approved the implementation plan to drive growth and inclusion based on the priorities of the 7th Administration's Medium-Term Development Plan. The plan aims for a coordinated and focused implementation of prioritized economic development interventions which were designed under multiple initiatives. The core pillars of the plan are economic reforms to fix the fundamentals of the economy, public service reforms to build a state that delivers, and industrial policy reforms to pursue new areas of growth. The focused and prioritized implementation will give the plan the same impetus of the structural reforms program under Operation Vulindlela. Critical mineral strategy for South Africa, the implementation plan. Cabinet approved the critical mineral strategy implementation plan, which details a roadmap to leverage opportunities in mineral wealth arising from the surge in demand for critical minerals due to their increased applications in digital technology, defense, healthcare, consumer electronics, and electric vehicles, amongst others. The implementation plan focuses on 6 pillars, which are geoscience mapping and exploration, 2, value addition and localization, 3, research, development and innovation, 4, infrastructure and energy security, 5, financial instruments, and 6, regulatory harmonization. The implementation of the critical mineral strategy will significantly contribute to economic growth and job creation. Draft revised white paper on citizenship, immigration, and refugee protection. Cabinet has approved the draft revised white paper on citizenship, immigration, and refugee protection for public consultations. The revision builds on the final white paper on citizenship, immigration, and refugee protection approved by Cabinet in 2024, updating certain policy propositions and adding detailed guidance on proposals contained in the original version. Key enhancements of the white paper include integration of recommendations from Operation Vulindlela's report on visa policy reforms and additional clarity and detail to strengthen implementation of immigration and citizenship policies. The revised white paper aims to ensure a coherent, modernized approach to citizenship, immigration, and refugee protection that supports national development and national security objectives, including the first safety country principle, which encourages refugees to seek protection in the first country they reach that is considered safe. The medium-term plan biannual progress reports. Cabinet received and considered the biannual progress reports on the implementation of the 2024-2029 medium-term development plan for April to September 2025. The reports provided an overview of the government department's performance over the 6-month period, highlighting areas of performance successes as well as areas where delivery is lagging or facing obstacles. Cabinet deliberated these findings and emphasized the need for continued focus on improved implementation. Further in-depth briefings will be provided by the Minister of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, together with the co-chairpersons of cabinet clusters. National Strategy to Accelerate Action for Children. Cabinet approved the National Strategy to Accelerate Action for Children, a strategy that aims to accelerate action for the welfare and development of children and adolescents across South Africa. The strategy focuses on closing the food gap, stimulating language and learning in every young child, protecting children and teenagers through reduction of substance abuse, timer screening and referring children with hearing and visual disabilities, and building identity and agency for children. The strategy emphasizes collaboration and shared responsibility to ensure that every child has the opportunity to thrive. Members of the public can access the strategy on the Department of Social Development website, www.dsd.gov.za. The 5th National Plan of Action for Children, 2025-2030. Cabinet approved the 5th National Plan of Action for Children, 2025-2030, which ensures implementation of the National Strategy to Accelerate Action for Children that we just approved. This is a strategic framework to address the rights, needs, and well-being of children in the country. The plan aligns with the international frameworks, particularly the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child and national legislation, including the Constitution and the Children's Act of 2005. Building on progress since 1996, the 5th National Plan of Action Plan provides a comprehensive roadmap to protect and promote children's rights, recognizing persistent challenges while reaffirming government's commitment to creating a better future for the country's most vulnerable children. Key focus areas include empowering every child as a rights-bearing active citizen, strengthening systems and partnerships to ensure holistic child development, and addressing priority areas that improve health, education, safety, and social inclusion. The NPAC reflects a collaborative approach between government and partners to ensure that all children are recognized, empowered, and enabled to thrive. The plan can be found in the website of the Department of Employment and Labor, which is www.del.gov.za. Program of Action to Address Gender-Based Violence and Femicide. Cabinet approved a comprehensive program of action to address gender-based violence and femicide, including a service delivery framework and institutional arrangements to drive a whole-of-society approach in addressing the GBVF scourge. The comprehensive program of action focuses on the implementation of the following 5 priority areas. Prevention, that is 1. Prevention and rebuilding social cohesion, that is 1, which focuses on eliminating social acceptance of violence and addressing structural drivers. Greater effort will be made to engage men and boys in prevention dialogues to dismantle harmful norms and toxic masculinity. 2. Enhance law enforcement protection, safety, and justice, aimed at strengthening the criminal justice system to ensure protection and justice for survivors. Expanded victim-friendly facilities and specialized GBV desk at South African Police Services stations are part of this effort. Victim and survivor-centered support, which seeks to provide equitable access to high-quality services across justice, health, and education sectors. Emphasis is in an integrated support system that prioritizes dignity, healing, and empowerment, ensuring survivors receive comprehensive care without discrimination or delay. 4th, communication and stakeholder engagement and mobilization, which focuses on transforming social norms at all levels through consistent, evidence-based messaging. It aims to challenge harmful attitudes, promote gender equality, and mobilize communities to actively participate in ending GBVF. 5th, institutional arrangements, which ensure strong governance and accountability mechanisms across all spheres of society, and calls for firm, coordinated leadership and clear institutional rules to drive implementation, monitor progress, and enforce accountability. Victims of violence are encouraged to use the 24-hour Gender-Based Violence Command Center hotline, which is 0800 428 428, to report abuse and access support services. Draft National Open Science Policy. Cabinet approved the Draft National Open Science Policy, which is a proposed framework designed to guide the country's approach to open science. Open science refers to the practice of making scientific research, data, and processes accessible to the public and broader scientific community. The policy aims to promote transparency, collaboration, and innovation in scientific research while addressing national priorities and aligning global trends. A central goal is to enhance the availability of research outputs, including findings, publications, data, and tools for researchers, policymakers, students, and the public. The policy advocates for collaborative research both within South Africa and with international scientific communities, and encourages global partnerships through open data sharing. By fostering openness and inclusivity, the approved open science policy positions South Africa to advance scientific progress and innovation for societal benefits. Excuse me. Report on the performance of Research and Development Tax Incentive Program for the financial year 2022-2023. Cabinet approved the performance report of the 2022-2023 Research and Development Tax Incentive Program to be tabled in Parliament. Government offers R&D tax incentive in terms of Section 11D of the Income Tax Act of 1962 to encourage private sector R&D activities. The incentive is based on 150% tax deduction on approved operational expenditure incurred on research and development activities, making it one of the most generous research and development incentives globally. In 2022-2023, the program received 188 project applications from 77 companies with total planned research and development expenditure estimated at 1.5 billion rands. Most applications were received from large companies with an annual turnover of 100 million rands and above. The highest number of project applications came from Gauteng, followed by Western Cape and KwaZulu-Natal. Draft regulations related to institutions as national research facilities and regulations to the Declaration of Research Institutions. Cabinet approved the publication for comments the draft regulations on the establishment and governance of national research facilities and draft regulations on the Declaration of Research Institutions. These regulations provide a framework to identify eligible research institutions for purposes of funding, national priority alignment, data sharing, and oversight. The framework seeks to identify institutions that possesses a public research mandate, appropriate infrastructure, capabilities, expertise, and services that advance the national system of innovation, support the national research agenda, and fulfill the mandate of the National Research Foundation. The proposed regulations aim to strengthen governance and ensure that research institutions play a strategic role in driving innovation and supporting South Africa's development objectives. On bills, Draft Gas Bill 2025, Cabinet approved the submission of the Draft Gas Bill 2025 to Parliament for further processing. The bill seeks to repeal the Gas Act of 2001 and introduce a modernized legislative framework that reflects recent technological developments in gas transportation and storage. The bill also addresses challenges experienced in the implementation and enforcement of the current Act by positioning South Africa to better manage its gas resources and infrastructure in line with global best practices and national energy priorities. The bill empowers the National Energy Regulator of South Africa to set, monitor, and regulate distribution tariffs, regulate the registration regime, and to determine suitable period for licenses. The bill also seeks to provide empowering provisions for a centralized strategic planning regarding new gas facilities, particularly the transmission and regasification facilities that form the backbone of gas importation and bulk transportation to ensure national energy security. Natural Scientific Professions Bill 2025. Cabinet approved the publication of the Natural Scientific Professions Bill 2025 for public comments. The main objective of the bill is to update and replace the Natural Scientific Professions Act of 2003, which regulates natural science professions in the country. The draft bill introduces an updated legal framework for registration, regulation, ethical standards, and scope of practice for natural scientists, with an aim of modernizing governance of the profession, ensuring alignment with current scientific practices and international standards. On appointments, all appointments are subject to verification of qualifications and relevant security clearance. Cabinet approved the following appointments: the extension of contract of Mr. Nkumeleni Victor Vere as the Director General at the Department of Tourism. Approved the extension of contract of Mr. Mbulelo Service Changana as DG of the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. Ms. Mametsi Masemula as Head of Infrastructure, South Africa in the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. Mr. Rian Botha as Deputy Director General, Facilities Management in the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. Cabinet concurred to the following appointments. Cabinet concurred to the appointment of Mr. Themba Ngubeni as the Chief Executive Officer of Mzimvubu Zizikama Catchment Management Agency. Mr. Nketeleni Norman Ngidi as the CEO of the Film and Publication Board. Mr. Mahatu Melo as the Managing Director of the State Information Technology Agency, SITA. Cabinet further concurred to the following board appointments. The Director to the Board of ESCOM, the concurrence was for Ms. Tandeka Zondi Mtembu. Cabinet concurred to the appointment of Ms. Thuli Mahele and Advocate Matifo Joyce Majodina to the Board of the National Radioactive Waste Disposal Institute. Cabinet concurred to the appointment of non-executive directors on the board of the South African Maritime Safety Authority, who are Advocate Vusumuzi Sehau as the chairperson, Mr. Mervyn Burton as the deputy chairperson, Dr. Owen Peter Muller Howood, Mr. Sandile Keswa, Dr. Natalia Skapers, and Advocate Nosipo Sobekwa. Cabinet further concurred to the appointment of members to the Central Energy Fund Board as follows: Advocate Lindelwa Nobantu Nziba, Mr. Neil Johnson, and Mr. Pesley Msingati Madokwe. Cabinet concurred to the appointment to the National Energy Regulator of South Africa of Ms. Rian Govender as the Deputy Chairperson, Mr. Wilbrod Majola, and Ms. Nomfundo Maseti. Cabinet also concurred to the appointment of members to the Companies Tribunal, who are judges: Judge Mohammed Nafsa, Judge Kathleen Seichwell, Judge Robert Nugget, Judge Bosi Henry Mba, and Judge Visvanath Ponan. Members of the South African Council for Space Affairs, who are Advocate Lutando Simpiwe Nkumatela as the chairperson, Dr. Maria Ria Nonyana Mukabane as deputy chairperson and who's also a DTIC representative, Advocate Icho Kioletsi Matlou, Mr. Shafki Amiddin Ali, Mr. Kividizwe Midupi, Mr. Sidney Lindell Pence, Mr. Vincent Mulawa Mwajana, Dr. Reshma Matura, Mr. Ntlantla Michael Mabaso, Mr. Itumeleng Makula as the representative of the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Sarisha Herelal, Ms. Yolanda Ngumalo, Mr. Frank Mnisi as the representative of the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies, Colonel Tamara Thomas Haywells as the representative of the Department of Defense, and Mr. Livas Mabaso as the representative of the Department of Transport. Members to the Board of Land Affairs. The concurrence is for Ms. Lusanda Nomasango Neshtenje as the chairperson, Ms. Precious Tlengiwe Makwe as the deputy chairperson, Advocate Anthony Michael Fivias, Mr. Pierre-Jean Alexander Keba, and Mr. Tsietsi Hamilton Madonsel. Cabinet further concurred to the appointment of members of the Amatole Water Board as follows: Dr. Haster Shapley, chairperson, Ms. Lita